Welcome, I'm Cara King, president of the Academy for Surgical Coaching and a minimally invasive gynecologic surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic. What you're about to watch is part of Mastery in Motion, the 2026 Expert Insights series from the Academy for Surgical Coaching. It's a year-long series built around one idea, that surgical excellence is not a destination. It's something you develop intentionally, continuously, throughout a career. Each session in this series takes on a different dimension of that work. Today's conversation is one I think you'll find genuinely useful, whether you're thinking about your own performance, your team, or how you develop surgeons in your program. You don't have to watch these in order. Each one stands on its own. But if you want to go deeper, the full series is available at youtube.com/@surgicalcoaching. You can also visit our website at surgicalcoaching.org, where you can also find all the ways the Academy can support you directly, because that's really what we're here for, not just to talk about surgical coaching, but to make it available to you. If you've been curious about working with a coach, this is a good moment to look into it. If you've ever thought about becoming a coach yourself, our training program can get you there in about 6 hours with CME credit and formal certification. Whatever brought you here today, I hope what you're about to hear gives you something worth taking back to your work. Let's get started.
All right, everyone, welcome back to our Expert Insight series. Today, we are going to be talking about when things go wrong, coaching through surgery's toughest moments. So I feel like every surgeon at some point in our careers has either had a case that stays on our mind, and if you don't have that case yet, it's going to happen at some point in our careers. And when that case happens, it is so critical to have somebody like Dr. Kristine Lombardozzi in your corner. Kristine, you're one of my favorite humans in the world, a brilliant coach, an incredible mind. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Cara, and I'm really happy to be here. I am a trauma surgeon and a surgical intensivist, but more, I think, important to this conversation is I'm also a professional coach. And so this dovetails the two things that I love most, and coaching and surgery, and that's how I got to this place.
And you are so good at it. You have taught me so much along my coaching journey. So thanks so much for being here with us today.
It's my pleasure.
So I'm thinking about the title of our chat today. Yeah, when things go wrong. And I'm thinking about us being in the operating room, maybe going through our own history and things that we've experienced. In your opinion, what defines things going wrong? When you think about things going wrong, what things come to the top of your mind, Kristine?
It takes me in two directions. I think there are the cases where things have gone like big wrong, big events, bad outcomes. But I think there's another space where it's a more nuanced. Things were unexpected. They were harder than they were supposed to be. An interaction with a learner. I think that can also fit into that category of the interpretation that things went wrong.
That's interesting, right? Because in my mind, when things go wrong, it's like a major vascular injury. I'm like putting a varus through an aorta. Like that went wrong. That did not feel good. But what I'm hearing you say is that even little things that may seem quote unquote small actually can pay its toll and not feel like the best version of ourselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it is, I think both of these things get under our skin and fester. And if we compartmentalize them, which is what we do, they often don't stay in that box.
Yeah. 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 And I think about surgeons. We have been known to be perfectionists, maybe. I don't know. And I feel like we're really hard on ourselves a lot. And that's how we got to be where we are today. But that doesn't always serve us as well. So when you think about people who you've coached through this area of complications, let's say, what have you seen people come to you with in regard to their internal monologue? What's going on in people's heads?
I think probably the biggest theme is shame. And that is what prevents us from speaking to others about it. It's what, again, makes us compartmentalize, not want to look at it. And I think there's also, we're very service minded. And I think the other big theme is, did I not do the best that I could do for my patient? And that weighs on us both retrospectively and then colors how we look at everything that we do moving forward that has any similar characteristics.
Wow. So you see most people go internally. What did I do wrong? Is that what?
Yes, the majority that I see, it's internalized. I think things that are external, I think maybe a little easier for us to process, a little easier for us to fix. And I think, again, surgeons want to fix things. And often these things that have gone wrong, there isn't a true fix. You can't go back and fix it. And so I think that's another thing that perhaps prevents us from being able to move through, process through some of these cases.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild to sometimes try to explain to someone who's not a surgeon or someone who's never been in the operating room what it feels like the weight that we feel to our patients, to our
Mhm.
learners. And I'm the only physician in my family forever, the only doctor forever. And so trying to explain to someone the weight that you feel, it's like you have to be there to understand. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think there's the nuance that having a coach who is a surgeon can make such a big difference because there is this baseline understanding of things that we don't have to explain. And as you pointed out, the weight of responsibility is so paramount to us that it's also, I think, sometimes not very safe for us to have that conversation with someone who may not have our own perspective and maybe looking at it as a patient and hearing
Yeah.
what we're saying.
That's such a really important point, right? There's a lot of coaches out there, and I have my own coach. I have a surgeon coach, and I also have a developmental coach. And I think you nailed it in that you can't help but take your own experiences and put them into your conversations, good, bad, or indifferent, right? And so when you have a surgeon that you're speaking with as a surgeon coach, they get you. Like you get us. There's things that I don't have to say that you have felt the weight of. And I think your recipients feel that through you.
I think so. I think it's a little easier to create that coaching space, that safe space for us to have this very vulnerable conversation. It just makes it easier to lay that foundation.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm moving into the space of you sitting down with someone or somebody having a complication and ruminating it into our head, feeling all the things that you mentioned. I think it's important to obviously reflect on our complications and understand how and what and why. But how do you help separate out this area of healthy reflection and accountability and separate that from this area of potential, like really destructive self judgment or critique? How do you separate that?
I think I look at it a little bit in the response or what the coachee is bringing. I think we have our M&M process, we have our debriefing process, and the way that the surgeon participates in those may influence what they're holding on to. Some people pass through and go through the debrief and the maybe the M&M process. They may use their colleagues and they feel like they have forward movement. I think when it is something that you need or maybe want more coaching through is when you don't feel like you've made forward progress. When it's intrusive. It comes up again and you can't stop thinking about it. You can't set it down. And I've also seen where you start to look at the cases that you're about to do and it's through that lens and you can't put it down. I think that's where I think I see the need for coaching. I think there's always the opportunity for coaching through these, but I think the need presents itself when it is just really persistent and without forward movement.
Mm. Yeah, I like where your brain's at because my next question is it too soon to coach right after a complication, right? What's that sweet spot of coaching, right? So I have a complication on a Tuesday. Do I call you that night? Do I call you on Wednesday? How soon is too soon? So talk to me about like that sweet spot. And is there a time that could be quote unquote too soon to be coached on a complication?
I think if you look at true coaching, I do think that there is a space where it is able to happen in more optimal fashion. I think immediately after, I think there is the need for support for other people to know what has happened. But I think you have to allow yourself some time to absorb what's happened, to let your emotions play through. I think we each process in a slightly different pace. And so I do think that there's a role for your support system to be in. Are you okay? Basic check in and support. And I do think once you've gotten through that initial processing period, and whether that is on the order of days or weeks, I think that is when the true work of coaching is probably optimal because you're able to take a step back. You're not coming from it from pure emotion and may be able to set some goals or use the coaching framework a little more optimally.
Yeah, I think that's a really important perspective. And I'm thinking back to my case in particular that felt really not good. And I remember I was up all night with a complication, right? So I hadn't slept all night. And then the next day I had to operate all day, right? You got to show up and operate. So I hadn't really slept and I operate the next day. And then halfway through my day, I get a call from our quality review team because I'm thinking, my case got flagged from the night before, right? And they're just inquiring
Wow.
about what happened and why and the system stuff. And I just remember how raw that felt, right? Like I hadn't even slept yet from something that obviously I wish had gone different. And so I think about how acutely important that critical time after is and
Mhm.
how those interactions that you have can really embed in your mind. Have you seen that?
I definitely seen that. And I think what you just described, that how it may be well-meaning on the part of the
Yeah,
system, on the part of the quality perspective. But I think when somebody who is not a peer, who is not purely in that flattened hierarchy role, approaches you just even to say, hey, we need to talk about this, I think that sets in motion a lot of defensiveness, and it accelerates, I think, that self critical thought process. And so I definitely, your example is a very clear example of that wasn't helpful and probably was even harmful in that timing.
yeah, and to no fault of anyone, right? Because I'm thinking about probably some committee, some task force that thought about what happens when a surgeon has a complication and how do we support them and how do we review it and how do we do root cause analysis, right? And maybe on paper that was right. The quality board should have contacted the surgeon and discussed it in more detail. But I'm also zooming out and looking at the culture of a place that that integrates coaching as part of maybe the initial touch base. Have you seen any institutions that integrate coaching in that way in regard to complications?
While I don't have personal experience, I do know that there are systems and programs that sort of look at that initial contact as being far more of like a therapeutic interaction, a support, letting the surgeon talk, that touch point. Are you okay? What are you ready to talk about? What are you ready to explore? And I do think that separating that interaction from sort of the goal setting that we might do in coaching, I
Right.
have seen programs that separate those out. Do you
Yeah.
have any experience with those programs?
Yeah, my mind's working through this right now, real time. I'll be honest. We have an incredible Center for Excellence in Mentoring and Coaching here at the clinic. I'm lucky to be here in a place that has that, and they're always available to us. But I don't think they're part of that initial post-op complication type of workflow, and it makes me think how we could integrate them. Even if it's just a call, "Hey, we exist. I'm here if and when you need us." That would even feel good at that moment. So you're actually making my mind expand and how we could integrate that in a different way here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's lots of ways or maybe strategies. I think it can be
Yeah.
a systematic strategy, especially if coaching is a intrinsic part of your organization. I think there's an opportunity either to have somebody who, hey, we've had an event, here's the person that does the immediate contact, but they're trained and they
Yes.
understand how to listen and how to be in that supportive role. I think there could be an opportunity inside even a group or a smaller system
Yeah.
to say, we're going to deliberately take that role when someone's had something, that we organize ourselves into how we reach out to our peers and our partners to do
Yes.
that same offering.
And you said something really important right now, and that you said someone who's trained in coaching. Because I think as surgeons, myself, and there's different hats: teacher hat, sponsor hat, mentor hat, coaching hat. We talk a lot about switching hats. And as surgeons, we are problem solvers. Like we are literally paid to solve the problems. And so I even notice this sometimes with my partners that they come to me with something. I want to fix it. That's like my role is to fix it. And a lot of times that's not the hat that the coach should or oftentimes does wear, right? They're there to be a mirror, to reflect, to ask the right questions, to get below the line, all those things. And so if you have someone, even with the best intentions, come to you with a problem fixer mindset, that may not be as high impact either.
I think correct. And we want to help, but ideally to let the surgeon process through and find their own solutions to how they're going to view this event, how they're going to make something positive out, like that is their work. And so you're very right. I think having someone who is trained just to listen and to reflect and to ask questions allows that surgeon some space, either acutely or later in the work of coaching through this, the opportunity to drive it to get what they need at the time that they need it.
Love that. So I want to tap into your expertise here for a moment. So let's say you are sitting down with someone who had a complication 6 weeks ago, still ruminating. They're still thinking about it when they go to scrub. What type of questions have you found that can be really high impact to unlock what's going on in their brain?
I think you can try a very direct route. What does it mean to you that this happened? I think that opens the door because we're surgeons, we may have an assumption that we think we know what that complication means to that surgeon. And so I like the idea of actually just letting them define, what does this mean to you? And then explore further, because it often takes us down a pathway of, they may draw really big conclusions about their competency, about their confidence, about what they should or should not be doing based on one single event. And there's then work that you can do to, is this true? Are you generalizing in a way that serves you, or teasing out that meaning that they've created, and let them explore whether or not that is a true meaning, or whether they need to draw some different conclusions.
Yes, I hear you saying lead with curiosity, because you may think you know what's bothering them, but oftentimes we misfire, right? Everyone has such an individual set of experiences that unless you ask and are curious about it, you could be completely on the wrong trajectory.
Absolutely. And I think, again, this is where some of the training, the coaching training, to really take ourselves out of that equation and be curious to discover their perspective. And that's just another competency that the coach brings, so that we aren't overlaying our own experiences or opinions on top of the surgeon we're working with.
Yeah, I love that. And what I really love through all of our work through the academy is we are performance based coaching primarily, and we do use a lot of video, but so much of what we do is outside of the video. And so much of it is in the space of cognitive and stress management and non media related material that if you don't have a video, no problem. So much of this is outside of the technical component anyway.
Absolutely. And again, often there may be video, and that can enhance sort of the exploration. But you're very right. Most of this is inside our own heads, and exploring both what was happening in the moment. Was that situation unique, not unique? And then exploring, again, what do you want to take away from that? Most of us want to come with some forward progress and make something good, or something that we've learned from, to apply it moving forward.
So much in our heads, right? My head all the time.
Yes.
I was with my fellow yesterday. We were just doing a big total laparoscopic hysterectomy, and there was just a lot of chatter in the room. And I just looked at her and I'm like, I just wish my head could stop thinking sometimes. Cause like, it's just so much all the time that finding that space of silence and reflection can be so therapeutic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
this is where you can look at the benefit of having an established coaching relationship, because it does force you to create a time and a space that is protected, and for your mind to be more directed rather than this chatter that's running in the background.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. We always talk about setting the next coaching date before you get off your call. And that is like my golden nugget. Just get to the next coaching meeting. I hear you. All right. So as we wrap this up, we're talking to a lot of probably coaches, maybe people who want to be coached. And like I said, if you haven't had a complication, that's amazing, but it's going to happen at some point during your career. So the people who are listening who may be thinking about their own not so feel good moment, what kind of message do you want to send to those people right now?
I think you actually already probably hit on the most important thing, is that this happens to everyone. And so you aren't the only one that is having to experience this, that it doesn't mean that you are a bad surgeon. It doesn't mean that you need to question the foundations of whether or not you can continue forward, or is there something intrinsically wrong with me? And I think that's probably the primary thing, is to take some of that isolation And then the next thing is that the feelings that you're feeling are normal. Like the shame, the isolation, the rumination, that all of this is a very natural and normal reaction, and you can use that to move forward. I think those are probably the two most important messages that I would
Yeah.
want for other surgeons to hear.
I couldn't agree more. And the fact that people feel that way is because they care so deeply. They care so much about their patients and so much about providing that care. And that's because you guys are amazing surgeons, right? So that those feelings are because we care so much.
It is really what drives us to do this. And it is a double-edged sword. We have our hold ourselves to high standards. And sometimes we're going to put those standards back on ourselves, and we have to find a constructive way to incorporate the natural occurrences into sort of the fabric of our surgical career.
Reframe those hard spots to wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
Why do I love this so much, Kristine? I'm obsessed with operating. It's so fun, but it can be so hard, right? I know. So, all right. So, everybody listening, if you are interested in becoming a certified coach, please contact us at the Academy for Surgical Coaching. We'd love to bring you in and put you through our training program and have you join our roster of over 400 coaches on an international scale. And if you're out there and you want to have a coach with someone like Kristine, who is absolutely practice changing, please reach out to us for that as well. And if you're interested in this conversation and want to hear more, please join us at our Surgical Coaching Summit, which is taking place this coming May. Thanks so much.